Time for an update on the Mustang. So it's not back on track yet. And I've got a list of excuses on why. So number one, parts delays and poor ordering. So I'm ordering parts as I need them, and that certainly adds time to the process. And then just everything is delayed these days. Number two, wrong parts. One example of this is rear brake rotors. I ordered a set of rear brake rotors, and the vendor had them marked as Cobra brake rotors, but when they arrived, they were GT rotors. I should have requested a refund and just ordered a new set of rotors, but I requested an exchange instead. And that ended up adding weeks to the process. The vendor wouldn't ship the replacements until they received the returns, and since they were paying for the shipping to go back, they picked the slowest shipping method possible. Anyway, it just took a lot of time. Number three, brake line challenges. So part of swapping the IRS on a 94 to 98 Mustang is changing how the brake line runs. So I cut the line running from the front to the back and added a T fitting. And on paper, this works great. Everything fit just right and it looked really good. Until I got the IRS fully installed, the bolts torqued, then I started to bleed the brakes and found one of the fittings on the T was leaking. And it's in a spot that you just can't get to once the IRS is in there. So I had to remove one of the half shafts so I could get a wrench on it. It turned out that the flare got messed up, so I reflared the end and put it all back together. The moral of that story is test your fittings before you put the IRS in. It gets tight in there with everything in place. Number four, drive shaft bolts. When I put the first drive shaft bolt in, it went about, 2 turns, and then it was stuck. It wouldn't come in, it wouldn't come out. And you can only get a 12 millimeter wrench on that bolt. You can't get a socket on it, there's not enough room. You just can't get the leverage. So I ended up getting this cool tool, and I'll link to this. And this did the trick. It's sort of like the wrench on wrench trick, so you can get added leverage or putting a pipe on it or whatever, but this is a lot safer. You can get a breaker bar on there and get the torque that you need. And you can actually hook it onto a torque wrench as well. With a little math, you can figure out how much torque you're actually torquing things to. So that worked out really well. So once I got it out, I found out that the threads were really rusted up. So I cleaned them up and I ran a tap through them, and now you can actually thread the bolts in by hand. So that's really good. 5, last but not least. I'm working on the car 10 minutes at a time here and there when I have time. This is a side project, right? I've got a day job like we all do. So anyway, the good news, the IRS is in and every bolt has been torqued to spec. The brakes are bled and leak free. The drive shaft is in and ready. The bump steer has been adjusted. I made a video on how you can make a laser bump steer measuring system. So check that out. On the to-do list, I'm getting pretty close. So we need to relocate the battery, and I'll try to cover that in this video. I need to wire the diff cooler and the diff cooler pump. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but I will show what the diff cooler setup looks like on my car. I need to take the back bumper support off and paint it. So it's currently primed. I just need to take it off, repaint it, and put it back in again. Install the gas tank. So the gas tank's already set up. It's got a new fuel pump in it, new sending unit. It's all new, ready to go. I need to swap the front sway bar. I was running a 27 millimeter front sway bar off of a V6. that was with the old setup. So Maximum Motorsports has actually recommended swapping back to the factory GT 30mm bar with the IRS. They said you may even want to go a little bit more bar, but that's a good starting point. I need to install the exhaust. I've got a new Bassani 3-inch exhaust. It's really nice looking setup. I'll try to do a video of installing that. There's a couple of little quirks for making the IRS exhaust fit with a 94 to 98. I need to change all the fluids because it's been sitting so long. And then once it's on the ground, I need to do a full 4-wheel alignment. And I'll try to make a video of that too. It'll be similar to the laser system. At least I'll be able to use the same laser pointer setup. So that's about it. So let's get started, and I'll try to show a little video of getting some work done. Alright, the audio quality on the GoPro was horrible, so I'm going to do a little voiceover work here. Let's see if I can make this make sense. So this is the diff cooler setup. Put it in the tire well here, and on the left side you can see the feed line coming from the differential feeding into the cooler, and then it flows out of the cooler, and I've got a filter system there going into the Tilton pump, and then on the right side feeding out through a bulkhead fitting. And let's see, so I've got a relay there set up that's going to be hooked into the pump, and I'm going to add a second relay for the fan, and it'll be switched inside the car. At some point I need to drill a couple of holes in the back here to get some airflow. I'll probably do some ducting, but that's a future thing, so we're not there quite yet. Alright, let's get some shots from underneath so you can see what's going on under there. So here you can see the bulkhead fitting on the driver's side, and this runs down to the bottom of the diff. So that's the intake where we're going to be feeding fluid up into the cooler. I don't have a good picture of the diff, but it's just the plug on the very bottom there. Okay, we're on passenger side now. Again, I apologize for the lighting, but I'm doing the best I can do here. So we've got a bulkhead fitting coming out. And then, let's see if you can see. There. The return going into the top of the diff there. And that's it. That's basically how we're doing the diff cooler. Alright, relocating the battery to the back seat area. I don't plan to have the back seat in here, so I've got the battery mounted in. I've got that terminal block over there. It's got a nice cover and everything, so you don't have to worry about shorting anything out. I will say, in hindsight, I needed to be a little more careful where I drilled the holes for to mount that battery bracket. 2 of them were actually inside the frame rail area, so I can't get to the back side of them, so I had to put in some riv nuts to take care of that. But then I intend to install a cutoff switch. That'll be in the future. I just want to get the car running at this point. So I've got both positive and negatives running from the battery, and they are going to the engine area. So let's take a look at that. Okay, we're in the driver's side fender well here, and you can see the positive cable red and the negative cable black. That's on either side of the hood release cable. It seemed like a pretty good spot, so I tucked the red cable in there, and the ground runs up and over in the inner fender well, and then tucks in above the washer reservoir there. Then we can move around to the engine compartment. And I got these little studs. You kind of, let's see if we can adjust here. It's got the positive. There you go, positive and the negative. I've got the factory wiring harness just plugged in, bolted into those, and the cables running back to the battery from there. So that should do it. Alright, I think I'm going to wrap this one up here. Next video, hopefully we'll get a first start and see what installing that exhaust system looks like. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks.